Hi, Denis. This is Christina from The Upcoming. So lovely to speak with you today. Congratulations on your movie. To start things off, would you like to tell us what Paul is about and what people can expect going in?
Well, Paul is about Paul. Paul is an ordinary guy I met through a friend, and his lifestyle was so, I would say, not original, not particular, but intriguing, to say the least. And I contacted him. I said, look, I think I would like to make a film with you and your lifestyle. And the danger, Mr. Paul, is to make a film that would look voyeuristic or exploitative. And I think I would be the good director to try to avoid that. Because many years ago, I made a film about bodybuilders, and I did the same. It was very observational, non-judgmental. So Paul agreed to make a film about himself. And the curiosity about Paul is that to battle anxiety, he decided to start doing cleanings for dominatrix women. And he tries to surround himself every day of his life with different women, doesn't talk to men, very solitary, a bit depressive, very anxious. And while he's cleaning for these sexy, dominant ladies, that becomes his safe space. So I thought that was original enough to make a film about it.
Non-judgmental is a word that has been used a lot to describe this film by you and by others. Could you tell us what you think that word really entails, how it relates to observational, and if they are the same thing?
I agree that when you say, oh, this film is non-judgmental, it's a bit of a cliche, right? But in the case of Paul, it's just that when you learn about Paul's life, you can react by doing, like rubbing your hands and say, oh, I have a good subject. That's not good. You know it's original, it could make a film, but if you get excited by your subject because it's not your life, because it's sexy, because you expect something crazy to happen in front of your camera, that's not a good sign. A lot of filmmakers will still make the film. Maybe they will make a good film, but it means you're already excited by stuff that is not in your life. So I'm pretty sure the way you're gonna film things and with your editor after, it's gonna become a bit problematic, I think. In the case of Paul, I would like to say, I don't want to talk about myself too personally, but let's just say I had my basics. My director of photography, it can be BDSM, the swinging lifestyle, people with different kind of kinks, people with kinks that are so special that most people would say, oh my God, oh my God. But us, we were like, oh, okay. So we started the project being comfortable with these alternative sexual lifestyles. We had knowledge, maybe it's stuff we experienced ourselves, but we were okay to enter that world without judgment. So in the end, when you watch Paul, you expect to come see something, I don't know, sexual, BDSM. And what we filmed, I think, is just a normal guy's everyday life. So I think that's the surprise. If you're shocked by that film, I would be very surprised because we made sure that, okay, there are some parts here and there. Paul is getting beaten. Paul is meeting with someone who likes to be naked. Paul this and that. But the film, well, you tell me the film is not shocking. That's how I think the non-judgmental cliche applies to that film.
So you have said in a previous interview that you consider it a success when a couple of people walk out of your movies. Do you think anyone's gonna walk out of Paul? And if so, what scene would you think?
Now I feel weird because the world premiere was 2 hours ago. I made 16 films. Some films people really don't like. I get bad reviews. Some people are like, wow, he's very original. He has his own approach. Overall, I'm okay with the respect I get from the cinephile community, but my films are usually cold, cerebral, formal. But now, with Paul, 2 hours ago, the audience was not just clapping, screaming. I was like, can I say this? What the fuck? And then we went on stage with Paul and the crew, and people were looking at him like, not me, him. And they had questions for him. And I was like, wow. And the clapping at the end of the Q&A, I'm a bit in shock. Did I do something wrong? So I'm not sure because the film is more touching or whatever, it's better than my other films. But for me, it's a surprise. After 16 films at 51 years old, I'm like, wow, everybody likes it. Let's see, because we only had one screening. But so it's a weird feeling.
What's the most surprising thing you've heard someone say about it so far?
I just read someone on Letterboxd. So the next film by Denis Côté will be his own story with BDSM, right? Yeah, okay.
Did you face any challenges or difficulties during the filmmaking process?
I think it's safe to say that even if the film is a sort of new crowd pleaser, it was my hardest film to make. Because Paul, it's not that he was not trusting me. He didn't care who I was, didn't watch my films. Whatever I would say, he would not really listen because I'm a man. So he was always very distant. He would open his door to me, but just distant. And then I would write some emails to him and 2-3 words answer. So I was like, oh, it's so hard to make him love my project. He wanted a film, I wanted to make a film, but in between, there was no friendship. So that made me so nervous. And for 7 months trying to write to all these women, are you still available on April 17? Can we go to your apartment? Are you okay? What's going to happen when Paul? And the answers were always very short. But we were okay since we made the film on a 0 budget, a team of 2 people. So it was not too, but I was stressed the whole time. Is Paul liking the experience or not? And one day he saw the final result and he looked for the first time at me in my eyes. He shook my hand and said, "Thank you, Denis. It shows what my life is. I'm happy." I said, "You're happy, Paul?" "I'm happy too." He said, "Oh, I didn't sleep for the last 2 days. I was so nervous, but now I'm proud." And he came to Berlin. So the guy is proud of a film about him and his alternative lifestyle. So I think he's courageous, and we made the film to protect him. But I hope people won't say, "Oh, it's a cute film." I don't think it's cute, but whatever. I don't want people to think my approach or, "Oh, this is not Denis Côté." I hope people still see Denis Côté in my film because it's a film about Paul, but I'm the filmmaker. I have my own ego.
Oh, speaking of your identity and your filmography and him not being overly aware of it, do you think this relative anonymity both ways helped you remain non-judgmental?
Yeah, because I would go to his place and he didn't know if we were film students with a small video camera or if I was famous. He had no clue. And I was not trying to tell him, "Hey, I go to Berlinale every year." He doesn't care. So that anonymity or his lack of interest in cinema can help, but can be frustrating at the same time because he's not excited. "Oh, you want to film me today? Okay, but not in my shower." And it's very boring, you know. "No, Paul, today we film you with this lady. And, how are you, Paul?" And it was never coming back because he's... So that was the hardest part. And the anonymity you talk about helped things, but made me nervous.
And the title of your film, Paul, it's very personable and it's very ambiguous. Like it could be anything. Was this your first choice or were there other working titles?
There were never any other choice because I knew I was dealing with a very anxious person that is afraid of the world, afraid of the film, afraid of everything, afraid of real life. His safe space in his phone, and what he does with these women is so personal. I was like, there's no other title. We respect the guy and we're making a film to protect him and his lifestyle. It's called Paul. I'm sorry. Even if other films are called Paul's, the man who, Paul. So I never had another title. Never, never, never.
And the film's poster is very dreamlike, very Alice in Wonderland. There were so many amazing frames from your film. Was there a reason behind choosing a drawn poster?
Yeah, it's true that we wanted the film to have a fairy tale quality, especially because Paul is obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. But no, the main idea, at some point I got this idea, I know a painter, and I looked at his style and I'm like, wow, I would like him to draw Paul. And I ordered him, I commanded him a work of art. And we were so nervous because we showed him a picture of Paul and we said, the day he's gonna give us the work of art, we can't do anything. We need to take it. So we really love what he did. And then I wrote this huge Paul on it because for me, Paul aspires to be bigger than he is. He's looking a bit up and his name is huge and that's what he wants. He wants 100,000 people looking at his YouTube channel. That doesn't exist. And he's nervous because his followers on Instagram are going up. So I think the poster totally matches what he wants to be in a fairy tale atmosphere, you know. So I like the poster.
Do you feel that the Berlin Film Festival, or just Berlin, is the perfect place for your film to debut?
Obviously, yes. For some boring reasons. Well, of course, you need the people from Berlinale to like the film. So you're always nervous. It doesn't mean I've been here 4 times in competition that they will take a bad film from me. I hope they won't. So I was nervous for a long time. But once you are at Berlinale, there are boring reasons. It's in the beginning of the year. So you have your world premiere and then you have the rest of the year to go to the other festivals and blah, blah, blah. That's good. The weather. I know it's very boring. The weather, when you go to a festival and it's 33 degrees, people are not in cinema mode. Here, it's a bit cold. We go see films. It works. I know it's very boring to talk about the weather. Everything is walkable. Hotels are walkable. Restaurants, there are places to eat. Try Cannes, try Venice, try even Locarno. So Berlin is a perfect place for tourism, perfect place to just feel comfortable. I came out of my premiere and I went to eat a hamburger in front of the cinema alone, leaving my team a bit behind. You know, it's a human festival. I'm not stressed out to look great or amazing I came in competition wearing just not regular clothes, but there's no pressure. There's no pressure at Berlinale, so.
Thank you so much.
Good.